Hello and welcome to Narayana IAS. I'm Pratik, your faculty for daily news analysis. Now students, in today's DNA session, we shall be focusing on 5 most important topics from the Hindu, right? Before we begin and try to understand which are the topics that we shall be discussing today, let us, motivate ourselves by reading a motivational quote. So what is today's motivational quote that can, lift up your spirit? So the motivation is don't aim to be the best, aim to keep getting better. Now students, this motivation is very important and relevant for those students especially who are preparing for the UPSC examination. Why? Because UPSC you see is a marathon. It's not an examination which the entire examination process would complete, let's say, within few months. No, it takes a complete year to complete the entire examination process starting from prelims until the interview or when the interview or final result comes out. So don't aim to be the best. Don't aim that you want to top, in the entire country. Don't aim for that. Yes, having a vision, having a dream of, topping the UPSC examination is a wonderful dream, no doubt about that. But don't aim to be the best. Rather, aim to keep getting better. What does it mean? For example, you know the syllabus of UPSC examination. Now plan accordingly so that you complete the syllabus, let's say within a year. How will you complete the entire syllabus within, let's say, 1 year? For that, you keep monthly targets, break down the monthly targets to fortnightly targets, that is 15 days target, break down further to, weekly target, daily target, and make sure that you are evolving or getting better with each passing day. That should be your ambition. That should be your motivational factor, right? Because you need motivation every day. It's a marathon. So how will you get confidence or how would you feel motivated? Only when you're in a position to complete the daily targets or let's say weekly targets. If you're in a position to complete daily targets and weekly targets, you'd get the confidence, and this confidence is a very essential ingredient for your UPSC success. Confidence. And how do you get the confidence? By completing your daily and weekly target. So make sure that you are getting better or your knowledge is increasing with each passing day. Or let's say for example, answer writing. Your answer writing skills are enhancing or getting better with each passing day. Right? On this note, let us start today's DNA session with the topics that we shall be discussing today. So these are the 5 topics that we shall be discussing today, right? The first topic is taken from Hindu page number 12. Now, given the pollution crisis that we are witnessing in our country, especially in Delhi, the author of the article tries to highlight the importance of Environmental Health Regulatory Agency. This is the first topic. The second topic talks about International Cooperatives Alliance. Now, given India's expertise in the cooperatives, right, soon India will be hosting International Cooperative Alliance to highlight India's strength in the cooperative sector. This is the second topic that we shall be discussing. The third topic talks about Bilateral Investment Treaty, right? What exactly is Bilateral Investment Treaty and the importance of treaty in boosting economic growth. And the fourth article talks about International Criminal Court. And in the fourth topic, we'll differentiate between International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice, because these courts, it reappears in the newspaper every now and then. That's the reason it is important to understand the difference between ICC and ICJ, right? So let us start with the first topic. What is the title of first topic? India needs, right? India needs an environmental health regulatory agency. Now, in this article, we shall be focusing more on environmental health regulatory agency. You can map this particular topic under both prelims as well as means, right? In means, under GS paper 3, we have conservation, environmental pollution and degradation. Now, this topic can also be mapped under GS paper to under governance. Why? Because this article is talking about governance with respect to environment. Right? So, both for your GS2 as well as GS3, you can mark this particular topic. Right? So, this was a question asked in the year 2017. Climate change is a global problem. How India will be affected by climate change, right? So again, to address the climate crisis, or let's say pollution crisis, we are, contemplating what? Environmental Regulatory Agency, right? So, what is the context? The context is that India is fighting for, or India is in the process to achieve sustainable development. The development has to be sustainable, which means whatever development we do in our country has to be sustainable. That is, it should not impact or harm the environment, right? And that's the reason India with other developing countries is trying to convince the developed countries to fund the developing countries. Why? Because the developing countries can invest where? Can invest in the renewable sector, thus reducing the carbon emissions in the atmosphere. Right? And that's the reason India is working with many countries, right? For example, India and France co-founded the Paris Agreement, right? So the point is, India is working with other countries to make a change or for climate change. That is, the purpose is to reduce carbon emissions or to reduce the pollution. And why is India doing so? Because India is a country that is, being impacted because of pollution. Look at Delhi. What's happening in Delhi? The AQI has crossed 400. It is beyond hazardous. It is affecting health, right? And that's the reason it is very important that India is, or India becomes, or India rather is one of the key stakeholders in climate change. That is, India has to work with other countries, like-minded countries, to reduce the impact of pollution or reduce the impact of carbon on atmosphere or to reduce emissions. This should be the target, or this should be the objective. By doing this, India can establish herself as a global leader. And to address this climate issue, the author of the article contemplates the establishment or formation of Environmental Health Regulatory Agency. Now, what this agency is nothing but it is an institution. Please focus on the words environment, health. This agency would coordinate the efforts of health, climate, and economic sectors, which means this will be an integrated planning. Here we'll try to understand and coordinate, integrate the efforts of health sector, climate sector and economic sector, so as we can lead, or the result is this agency will lead to robust governance. Robust governance. The point is, India is going through the worst health crisis, or for that matter, environmental crisis. Right? India is going through a worst environmental crisis. That's the reason the author of the article tries to suggest the establishment of this agency or institution. Thereby, different sectors like health, climate, and economic sectors would come together to work to address the climate issues. The question is, why India needs Environmental Health Regulatory Agency? The first issue, current challenges. Which are the challenges? Pollution related health impacts. For example, because of air pollution, it is leading to cardiovascular, that is heart related disease, respiratory disease, isn't it? And if I talk about, let's say, water and soil pollution. So if you see air, water and soil pollution because of, let's say, because of the increase of fertilizers in soil and water, or because of heavy metal toxicity, heavy metal toxicity in water and soil. So air pollution leading to cardiovascular health, heart related disease, respiratory disease, right? Then water and soil pollution, and this pollution related health impacts, which means air, water, soil pollution is affecting the vulnerable groups most importantly. Alright, who are the vulnerable groups? Women, elderly people, children. These vulnerable category is being affected disproportionately because of pollution, which means the pollution is impacting health. Climate change impacts, for example, increasing temperature, then rainfall pattern, right? Or for that matter, economic growth and environmental pressure. If I talk about economic growth, because of rapid industrialization, see, more and more people are coming to cities. As more and more people are coming to cities, many industries are being set up in cities. Why? To meet the demand of the rising population in the cities, right? But because of economic growth, right, we see economic growth in our country. Every year we see the economy growing. But this economic growth is impacting the environment. How? Because of economic growth, it leads to deforestation, cutting down of trees. Then because of more and more people using vehicles, more and more industries coming, there is increase in carbon emissions, and this is leading to loss of biodiversity, loss of biodiversity. So if you see the pollution, air, water, health, climate change, you see extreme weather conditions, cyclones, the increased frequency of cyclones and floods, the economic growth. These are some challenges that is impacting our health. These are climate related challenges that is impacting our health. Right? I hope you understood all these 3 points. Which means the current institutions or current mechanism is not sufficient to address climate related issues or how climate is impacting the health. For example, we have few institutions like Central Pollution Control Board. Now, the mandate of this board is to control pollution. So, it only focuses on reducing pollution. Then we have Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. The mandate of this ministry revolves around environmental policies. Environmental policies. Then we have Ministry of Health. The mandate of this ministry revolves around disease, surveillance and control. For example, pandemic, COVID. So each of these ministries or boards have different responsibilities or mandates, which means there is no institution in our country that integrates the pollution related problem, environment related problem, health related problem. Which means we are lacking an institution that bridges the climate and environmental concerns, or let's say health and the environmental concerns. There is no institution that integrates or coordinates the efforts of these 3 different sectors. These are the limitations of the current framework that we have in our country. Why India needs EHRA? Lack of integrated data. When we say that the environment or pollution is impacting the health, do we have concrete data? No, we do not have concrete data. On what grounds we say that it is impacting health? To come to a logical conclusion, we need to have data, right? Which means we do not have integrated data. That is how the environment or pollution is impacting the public. Global gaps in comparison. For example, if you see developed countries like America, all right, like USA, France, Germany, they have an agency that coordinates the efforts in different sectors: health, climate, environment, and economic sectors. But India is lacking an institution that bridges the efforts of different sectors. So, global gaps in comparison, which means we do not have one unified agency that is solving the problems. Which problems? Pollution problems, health problems, economic problems. That's the reason we need environmental health regulatory agency. So once we have environment health regulatory agency, see, please focus on these words: environment, health. What will this agency achieve? First, unified data framework, which means once we have this agency will try to see how the environment is impacting the health, which means we would have integrated data. Once we have integrated data, once we have evidence, then the policies that we make will be evidence based. So unified data framework. I hope. What does it mean? For example, when we say that air pollution is leading to more cases of asthma, right? So this is a data that we have, right? Once we have unified data framework, we can say that because of air pollution, more and more people are suffering from asthma, which means now the government will bring in policy to reduce air pollution. For example, the government might reduce vehicular emission. The government might come up with strong regulations for the industries or for the pollution causing industries. Health impact assessment. So before giving a green signal to major industries, let's say factories or industries, this agency will see how the establishment of a factory or industry will affect health. For example, if there's a factory surrounding a school, or let's say in close proximity to school, then this agency will ensure that the factory that is established near to school will have air filter so as to reduce the harm of harmful emissions to students studying in schools. This is health impact assessment. This is the advantage of this agency. Second, evidence based policy and regulation, which means that different regions in a country are facing different problems. For example, if we talk about Delhi, Delhi is affected because of air pollution. But if I talk about Kerala, Kerala is affected because of water pollution, which means once we have data, unified data, based on that data, we can frame policies. For example, research and innovation, right? Under evidence-based policy, this agency will be involved in research, as in what is leading to pollution in Delhi, or how fertilizer is affecting pollution in water and soil. Based on the research, we can come up with innovative ideas. For example, we know that the farmers in Punjab and Haryana, they burn stubble, that is, they burn the residues, and because of burning these residues, it leads to air pollution in Delhi. So the innovation can be, you know, a machine, a machine that will, force the farmers to prevent burning of stubble or residues and instead use machines to get rid of the residues. This is the impact of having an integrated data. I hope you're getting the point, right? Now, economic growth and sustainability. This agency will nudge the government to come up with initiatives that leads to clean energy or clean development. For example, green economy initiatives. Which are these initiatives? For example, let's say investment in renewable sector. For example, we have, let's say, solar, wind, nuclear energy, right? Or let's say investing in electric vehicles, or let's say investing in organic farming, organic farming, which means the government can incentivize the industries that are working in solar cells. They can incentivize the companies who are manufacturing solar cells, thereby pushing them to replace the coal-based power plant. Now, the coal-based power plant, they cause emission. So, if we incentivize, if you give tax rebates, if you give concessions to industries that are manufacturing solar cells, these companies, will make sure that they are replacing the coal-based power plants, which means it will lead to job creation. And the development that we will witness would be sustainable. Public engagement and awareness. Now, community involvement is very, very important, which means, let's say, in a particular area, if the people of that area are facing, let's say, problem of, let's say, dirty water, unclean water, unhygienic water, then the community can come together to demand that they want clean water. Community involvement is very, very important. Or let's say education campaigns. Now, education campaigns should involve or make people understand how the pollution is affecting people's health, how it is directly related to heart related disease, respiratory disease, asthma cases. So education campaigns should also help people to you know take initiatives. For example, instead of using personal vehicles, they can use public transport, thereby reducing emission. Or let's say using or reducing the usage of tissue papers. Why? Because of tissue papers, so many thousands of trees are being cut. Or let's say when people use water, they use plenty water. So you need to restrict the use of water. For example, when people brush their teeth, right? They simply open the tap, and so much of water flows unwanted. That's the reason education campaigns is very, very important. Especially the students should be imparted this environmental or let's say educational training wherein they should understand how it is important to preserve the environment. If you preserve the environment, right, life can be sustained on earth. And if you fail to preserve the environment, life will be very, very difficult to survive on this planet. Then role of media. Now media, the non-government organizations and media can come together, can hold the politicians, government accountable, right? Here, media and NGOs can play a very, very important role in educating the public, also holding the government responsible. Global and national alignment, meeting global commitments. For example, India is committed under, let's say, Paris Agreement, Paris Agreement of 2015 and Sustainable Development Goals, clean air, clean water, right? So here, by taking such steps, right, India will ensure that India is meeting the global commitments made under Paris agreements, that is to reduce the carbon emissions and sustainable development goals. At the same time, to ensure that India is contributing to the reduction of emissions, India can work with international agencies like United Nations, World Health Organization, so that these international institutions will help the developing countries or will fund the developing countries so that the developing countries will start investing in the renewable sector. So this is what we shall be achieving once we have environmental health regulatory agency. Why? Because this is integrating the efforts of health, environment and economic sectors. So as I told you in the main answer, you have to mention these examples. For example, we have this US Environmental Protection Agency, Germany's Federal Environment Agency, Japan's Ministry of Environment. So many developed and developing countries have a dedicated agency that integrates the efforts of environment, health and economic sectors, right? So India should ensure that we come up with or we establish as soon as possible environment health regulatory agency. But there are implementation challenges. For example, the industries. Now, in order to reduce the emissions, the government will frame certain regulations, which means the regulations will be very, very strict and all the industries have to abide by the regulations, right? Now, the industries will ensure or will try their level best to violate or to bypass the environmental regulations. At the same time, the bureaucracy would be hesitant to establish or form environmental health regulatory agency. Why? Because forming this agency, environment would also require the coordination of different ministries like Ministry of Health, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Finance, right? Then funding and resource allocation. Now, establishing this agency would require massive investment in the research, in the infrastructure. So, funding would be another challenge or another problem. Balancing economic growth. Now, let's say, for example, if the government comes up with very, very strict regulations, this will stop the expansion of the industries, isn't it? Why? Because let's say the government comes up with a framework or let's say with a rule that the industries cannot emit pollution beyond a certain level. Not all the industries can abide by that new rule, which means if they are not in a position to abide by the rule, their industries will be closed down. The government will take action or government will penalize the industry. Because to abide with the rule, the industry needs to make massive investment in technology. They have to buy new machines, new equipments, right? So this might literally stop the expansion of industries. Now, expansion of industries is very, very important. Why? Because it gives more jobs. And if you are stopping the expansion of industries, it will affect the economy. So this is a dilemma that this agency has to resolve. And what are the benefits? Health benefits. Of course, once we have integrate data, the policy will be evidence based. And if the policy will be evidence based, right, there will be less vehicular emission, less industrial emission, which means less cardiovascular, respiratory disease, economic benefits, right? The more and more, right, the economy gets or shifts to renewable sector, this leads to sustainable development will again lead to economic growth and environmental benefits, right, which means there will be no deforestation, there will be afforestation, there will be no loss of biodiversity, right. So these are the benefits of environmental health regulatory agency. I hope you understood the first topic. Now, the question is, discuss the need of an environmental health regulatory agency in India to address the interconnected challenges of pollution, public health and economic growth. Highlight the benefits, challenges and international examples of such framework. So very, very simple question. First, in the introduction, you have to, highlight the fact that how pollution is impacting health of people, how India is going through worst environmental crisis. We have air pollution, frequent cyclones, right, landslides. This is what you mentioned in the introduction. Now in the body, start by highlighting the challenges. Which are the challenges we have discussed? Air pollution, water pollution, right, and how it is impacting the health. Then highlight the importance of health regulatory agency, how the health regulatory agency will help in reducing pollution. How it will integrate the efforts of, let's say, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Environment, Finance Ministry, right? Then discuss some of the challenges that will come in the way of establishing EHRA. The bureaucratic inertia, lack of political will, funding, right? And then finally, in the solution, you can mention the benefits of EHRA, right? Given the crisis that we are going through, it is very important that we establish or come up with an agency that will coordinate the efforts with different ministries and ensure that India is abiding by the international commitment under Paris Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals. This is how you sum up the answer, right? If you want to read the answer, please download the DNA notes, right? Please open the link given or mentioned in the comment box. Open the link if you want to read the DNA notes, right? I hope you understood the first article. For the sake of revision, open the link and go through the DNA notes. The second topic. What is the title of the second topic? India to host global meet of cooperatives in Delhi from November 2025. Sorry, from November 25, right? So, in this article, we shall be understanding the importance of cooperatives, right? And we'll be understanding what is this International Cooperative Alliance, right? You will mark this topic under GS paper 2, right? Under GS paper 2, we have international institutions and their mandate. So, previous question was asked, right, on the disbursement of credit to agriculture and allied activities, right? For example, we have cooperative banks, right? Now, what is the context? The context is that India will be hosting what? India will be hosting International Cooperative Alliance General Assembly and Global Cooperative Conference in Delhi from when? November 25 to November 30. This conference will be held in New Delhi from November 2025. This conference will highlight India's strength in the cooperatives. Now, what are cooperatives? Cooperatives, which means people come together to work in a, let's say, specific area, be it health, be it environment, be it agriculture, be it, let's say, MSME, be it economy. So, cooperatives is nothing but people come together to work for a specific purpose. This is cooperatives. We'll discuss. For example, Amul is a very famous example of cooperatives in our country. What Amul does, it collects milk from lakhs of farmers and produces milk and also exports milk to other countries. Amul is an example of cooperatives in our country. First, we'll understand the importance of this International Cooperative Alliance, followed by the importance of cooperatives in our country. So, the Prime Minister of our country will be inaugurating United Nations International Year of Cooperatives 2025. Who? The Prime Minister. When? November 25. Right? And this International Cooperative Alliance, right? India will host with the initiative of Indian Farmers and Fertilizer Corp. This is another cooperative that is working in the production of or manufacturing of fertilizers. And this conference, right, that will begin from November 2025, will amplify, will strengthen India's leadership in the cooperative sector. This conference will show to the world that how India is a leader in the cooperative sector. Right? Why? Now, in this conference, 3,000 delegates from 100 countries are going to visit. Which means this conference, International Cooperative Alliance, is a global treaty or global alliance. More than 100 members from 100 countries will be participating in this International Cooperatives Alliance. Right? Now, what is the theme? What is the theme of the event? Cooperatives build prosperity for all, which means this event will highlight the power of cooperatives and how the cooperatives will promote will promote prosperity will promote prosperity, which means how cooperatives, that is coming of people to work in a specific area, how this leads to economic growth, inclusive growth, and how this leads to prosperity. Right? This is the power of cooperatives that India will be showcasing with the help of so many cooperatives in our country. Please remember this theme, this sub themes, please read by your own, right? Now, another highlight of this event would be, it would be carbon neutral and sustainable, which means during this event, 10,000 people plants, trees will be planted across our country. During this event, only vegetarian food will be served. Why? Because when we say carbon neutral, now the non-vegetarian, or let's say the dairy sector, right? The dairy sector, for that matter, let's say the non-vegetarian sector that is involved in the production of meat, red meat, etc. It, harms the environment. Why? Because if you see the poultry farms, they consume a lot of water. It also leads to emission of harmful gases like methane, carbon. So the non-vegetarian, or let's say the poultry sector or meat sector, is impacting or harming the environment by releasing harmful gases like carbon and emission. It is also depleting water, which is a very, very essential resource. That's the reason only vegetarian food will be served, thus, committing to sustainability. Right? Now, let us try to understand. I hope you understood what is cooperatives. Amul is a very, very famous example of Indian cooperatives. Now, if we talk about India, India has around 8 lakh cooperatives in our country. Of all the cooperatives in the world, 25% cooperatives are located in India. This is how India is leading in the cooperative sector. Economic contributions, the cooperatives in a country, it contributes 4.8% to our GDP, which means if India is generating, let's say, 100 rupees every year, 5 rupees is coming from the cooperatives. Agriculture credit. Now the farmers need money. Why? So as to buy seeds, fertilizer, let's say machines. Now of all the banks or of all the sources, 36% money that is given to farmers, the cooperatives, they contribute or they constitute 36%. Of all the lenders, money lenders to farmers, cooperatives contribute 36%. And they are the backbone of agriculture development. Around 200 million people are involved in the cooperatives. Most of these people are, located in the rural areas. And the cooperatives, if you see the cooperatives, they are available mostly in the agriculture sector. They are present in the agriculture sector, dairy sector, banking sector, etc. So you have so many, cooperatives in the dairy sector, banking sector, agriculture sector, and directly or indirectly, the cooperatives in our country are providing employment to 20 million people. These are some statistics that you need to mention in the answer. Very, very important to mention statistics. Now, of all the milk that India produces, 22% of the milk India produces is from the cooperative sector. And Amul is one such example. Then agriculture, 93,000. What is PACS? Primary Agriculture Cooperatives Society, which means this society, right? This society provides credit, primary agriculture credit, it is credit. This society, it gives money to farmers to buy, let's say, seeds or fertilizers or machines. So, of all the cooperatives, right, or the cooperative sector is responsible for producing 48% sugar in our country. So, of all the sugar that is produced in our country, 48% sugar is produced from the cooperatives. And most of the cooperatives are saturated in Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh. Banking, 67. The cooperatives constitute 67% in the banking sector. This is how the cooperatives is impacting different sectors or contributing in different sectors. Some of the successful stories, Amul. We all know about Amul, how it provides employment to so many farmers and helps the farmers to raise additional income. The Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited. This is responsible, or this cooperative limited, it manufactures fertilizers, and fertilizer, we all know, it is a very important ingredient in the agriculture sector or the farming sector, right? It is responsible for agriculture development, where half of the population, right, is dependent in the or dependent on the agriculture sector. Then Seva, self employed women association. This another cooperative is responsible for skill development. Self employed, this association or this cooperative helps women with respect to skill development, microfinance, etc. So it is responsible for providing employment to 1.5 million women. This is the importance of cooperatives in our country, and these are some of the successful examples that you can quote in your answer. And government has taken few initiatives to strengthen the cooperative sector in our country. For example, we have dedicated a separate ministry for the cooperative sector. So Ministry of Cooperation. Then we have digitization of primary agriculture credit society. This will ensure transparency and accountability. Then NABARD, it provides financial and technical support to the people involved in the cooperative. So these are some of the examples that you can mention to enhance the answer. I hope the second topic is clear. So let us discuss question. I request you to answer the question in the comment box. So first statement, Indian cooperatives contribute approximately 4.8% to the country's GDP. Is it right? Yes, it is a correct statement. Then India accounts for 25% of all cooperatives globally, making it significant member of the International Cooperative Alliance. Yes, this is what we discussed. And this statement is correct. The third statement, the International Cooperative Alliance was established in the 21st century to promote global cooperative movements. So, this statement is incorrect. Statement of 1 and 2, that is option A, is the correct answer for question number 2. So if you want to understand the explanation for the statements, please open the link given in the comment box through which you can reach or the page will take you to the DNA notes page, wherein you can read the question, practice the questions, attempt the questions, and understand the explanation for every statement. The third topic. What is the title of the third topic? A bilateral investment treaty with a bit of change. So in this article, we shall be focusing on three things. One, bilateral investment treaty, right? This is incorrect. The second one is India's model BIT 2050 and how it is different from 1993, right? You can map this topic under GS paper 2, bilateral, region and global groupings. So, so let us go through a previous year question. The question asked in the year 2017. What is the question? Broad-based trade and investment agreement is sometimes seen in news in the context of negotiations held between India and which of these following organizations. So, question on such agreements, international agreements are often asked in the examination. That's the reason you should be well informed of all the important international and the regional agreements. So, what is the context? The context is that India and United Arab Emirates had signed what? Bilateral investment treaty. This bilateral investment treaty was signed in the year 2024 and this will come into effect from 31st August 2024. The article talks about making a few changes in this model of bilateral investment treaty. So what exactly is bilateral investment treaty and what is India's model of bilateral investment treaty is something that we are going to understand in this particular topic, right? First and foremost, the definition. What is bilateral investment treaty? Now this treaty is nothing but it is an agreement. It is an agreement signed between two countries, And what this agreement does is that it promotes and protects the investment of a country in another country. For example, let's say India is investing in United Arab Emirates, which means the Indian investment will be protected in UAE and the UAE investment will be protected in India through mutual assurance, etc. Which means this treaty pertains with respect to protecting the investment coming from the country with whom India has signed bilateral investment treaty. Now, India's bilateral investment treaty. India introduced a new bilateral investment treaty in the year 2015 and this treaty replaced the earlier model Bilateral Investment Treaty of 1993, which means earlier we had 1993 Bilateral Investment Treaty, but this treaty was replaced by Bilateral Investment Treaty of 2015, right? Now, which are the key features under India's Bilateral Investment Treaty of 2015? The first one is enterprise-based definition of investment. What does it mean? Which means that the investment that India will be getting from, let's say, country like UAE, that investment will be seen as legally established and organized and carried out in good faith under the Indian domestic law. Let's try to understand with the help of an example. Let's say, for example, a foreign company is coming in our country and establishing a company. A foreign company is establishing a company in our country, which means the company that the foreign country has established. Let's try to understand with the help of an example. Let's say the company has established a pharmaceutical company. Now, this company will be seen as a company which is legally established and organized. The investment of this company will be protected, which means no arbitrary action will be imposed by the Indian government. So here, important point to understand is that this feature, it protects the tangible investment. It does not protect the intangible investment. For example, let's say a foreign company is buying the stocks of Indian company. So this investment will not be protected. A foreign company buying stocks in a country, this investment won't be protected. Only the company that has physically established a company in a country will be protected. This is what you understand by enterprise-based definition of investment. Second, non-discriminatory treatment, which means the foreign companies that will be established in a country will be treated equally. For example, let's say the Indian government comes up with new environmental regulation, right? This non-discriminatory treatment would prevent the Indian government from imposing arbitrary action against a foreign company, which means, let's say, the government of India frames new environmental regulation. Now, these regulations will be applicable to all the companies. It won't be the case that the new regulations will be applicable only against the foreign companies. No, this will be applicable in all the companies, to all the companies, which means there will be no discrimination. Third, exclusion of most favored nation clause. Now, what is this most favored nation? The name most favored nation, it seems to indicate that we are favoring few countries the most. No, most favored nation, which means every country will be treated one and the same. Now, the third feature talks about exclusion of MFN status. What does it mean? For example, let's try to understand with the help of an example. Now, India has signed BIT with two companies, country A and country B. Or let's say company A and company B. Now, with respect to this company A, right, one of the clauses is that when it comes to winding up the business, right, the feature with this company A states that this company has to exhaust all the domestic legal mechanism before approaching the international court. Which means, let's say, for example, this company has been imposed 1000 crore tax, and this company feels that the amount of tax imposed by the Indian government is arbitrary. This company has to seek the domestic legal help. They have to go through the domestic legal help for 5 years. Once they exhaust the legal remedy, domestically, then they can approach the international mechanism or international court. And for this company B, let's say India frames a policy wherein this company B can immediately, refer the case to international court, which means the clauses are different for this company or country or this company. Now, company that is coming in our country, right, will try to take advantage of this clause signed with company B or country B. This is what is MFN. That is, every country will be treated one and the same. But here we are excluding the MFN clause, which means if a company C signs BIT with India, the negotiations will be as per the features of India's model BIT of 2015. The next is national treatment and expropriation. What does it mean? Which means the Indian government won't take over the foreign company, will not nationalize the foreign company. Let's say a pharmaceutical company is located in India. The Indian government is not going to expropriation, which means not take over the company, unless the reason why India is taking over the companies for public purpose. Let's say, for example, there is a land on which a foreign company has been established, but now the Indian government cannot take over the company, but the Indian government can take over the company when this land will be used for public purpose. Public purpose, let's say, for example, India wants to construct a dam here. Then the Indian government can take over the company and provide fair compensation to the company. This is national treatment. The last is investor state dispute settlement. So if there's any dispute between the Indian government and the foreign company has to exhaust all the legal mechanism for 5 years, which means for 5 years they have to resolve the dispute in our country. In case in 5 years the dispute doesn't get resolved, then they can approach the international court. This is the fifth feature under India's newly made model bilateral investment treaty of 2015. I hope you understood. Now see, under the bilateral investment treaty of 1993, India had signed bilateral investment treaty with 83 countries under the bilateral investment treaty model of 1993. But India has terminated or abrogated the treaty with 77 countries out of 83 countries, which means as of now we are continuing the agreement with only 6 countries. Pre 2015, we had signed BIT with 88 countries, but later on we scrapped or abrogated with 77 countries. We have only continued the treaty with 6 countries. Which are the 6 countries? Lithuania, Colombia, Bangladesh, Senegal, Libya and Philippines. Post 2015, India signed the bilateral investment treaty under the new model of 2015. Which are these 5 countries? Belarus 2018, which has come into force. Brazil 2019, not yet in force. Kyrgyzstan, not in force, 2019. UAE 2024, it has come into force, and Uzbekistan 2024, it is still not in force. So these are the 5 countries with whom we signed bilateral investment treaty as per the new model of 2015. So this 5 countries plus this 6 countries, 11 countries, which means India has, as of now, India has bilateral investment treaty with 11 countries. Now, which are the key changes made under India-UAE bilateral investment treaty? I request you to please read in the DNA notes. Please find the link in the comment section. The link will take you to the DNA notes page wherein you can read the changes made under India-UAE bilateral investment treaty. Based on the features of BIT model of 2015, you'll understand all these points. So the question, India allows, or with reference to India's model BIT 2015, consider the following statements. It allows India to grant MFN treatment to all the countries while signing the bilateral investment treaties. To grant MFN to the countries while signing the. So currently India has established BITs with 11 countries based on this model. Based on this model, we have signed with 5 countries only. So even this one is incorrect, this one is incorrect. So the answer is option D. So please try to read the statements, right? Please link the quiz link in the comment section, that will take you to the quiz section wherein you can attempt the question and read the answer. The last topic. What is the topic? ICC, that is International Criminal Court, issues arrest warrants against Netanyahu, gallant Hamas leaders, right? So we'll understand about International Criminal Court, and you can map this under GS paper 2, International Relations. So question was asked on United Nations Economic and Social Council, right? So there's a high chance of the question being asked on International Criminal Court. Now, what is the context? The context is that International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrant against the Prime Minister, Defense Minister of Israel and few Hamas leaders of Palestine. Why? Because the International Criminal Court believes that these people, I'm talking about people, not country, these people are responsible for crime against humanity, which means ICC believes that these people have committed crime against humanity, and that's the reason arrest warrant has been issued against these few people, right? Let us understand about International Criminal Court. What exactly is International Criminal Court? Now, International Criminal Court was founded in the year 2002 under the Rome Statute, which means post the end of Second World War, right? There was no organization that could, prosecute people for committing crimes against humanity. We had few organizations, but these were temporary organizations, which means there was no permanent and independent organization to prosecute individuals against war crimes. That's the reason in the year 2002, right, under the Rome Statute, which means the meeting was held in Rome, Italy, right, around 123 countries participated, and finally the International Criminal Court was established as a global court in the year 2002, right? And where is the headquarter? It is in Hague, Netherlands. Hague, Netherlands is the headquarter, right? Now, the jurisdiction, which means the areas in which ICC can operate. Now, ICC can operate only in those countries, right, where the crime has been committed. Let's say, for example, let's say this is US, and let's say this one is Iraq. US is not a member of ICC. Iraq is a member of ICC. The crime has been committed in Iraq, let's say, which means the ICC can extend its jurisdiction in Iraq. Why? Because the crime has been committed in Iraq. Or the ICC can claim jurisdiction when the United Nations Security Council, this body is the nucleus of United Nations. It is the most powerful body in the United Nations. UNSC. When UNSC requests the ICC to, conduct an investigation, then the ICC can claim jurisdiction when either the crime is committed in the member country or when UNSC refers the case to ICC. There are 123 countries or 123 members who are part of ICC. But shockingly and surprisingly, the major powers like United States, Russia, China, India, Israel are not the members of International Criminal Court. Very, very important point for your prelims. ICC is a permanent and independent court. All these points are very, very important for your prelims examination. See, as I told you, the arrest warrant was issued against the Prime Minister, Defense Minister of Israel and few leaders of Hamas. Now, the reason why ICC issued arrest warrant against Prime Minister and Defense Minister of Israel is because Israel prevented the supply of essential resources like food, medical supplies from reaching Gaza or people or the civilians, which means Israel ensured that help is not given to the civilians in Gaza or in Palestine. So Israel, it prevented all the supplies from reaching the civilians in Gaza. That's the reason ICC said that these people and also Hamas. Hamas why? Because Hamas was the one who attacked Israel on October 7th. That's the reason ICC has issued warrants against Hamas and Israeli leaders. Why? Because ICC feels that these people have committed war crimes, then genocide, then crimes against humanity and crimes of aggression. And ICC has issued warrants against these leaders under the 2002 Rome Statute, which means it has a legal bias. And see, now the confrontation is between Israel and Palestine, isn't it? Israel is not a part of ICC, but what we discussed with respect to jurisdiction of ICC, ICC can issue arrest warrant against people or especially in areas where the crime has been committed. Though Israel is not a part of ICC, but Palestine is part of ICC. And given the crime is being committed in Palestine, ICC claims jurisdiction with respect to Israel-Palestine war, and so ICC has issued warrant against Israeli leaders and Hamas leaders. Now here I want to highlight the difference between ICC and ICJ. ICC and ICJ. What is the difference between ICC and ICJ? First of all, ICC is not a member of United Nations. ICJ is a member of United Nations, which means the Court of United Nations is International Court of Justice. The headquarter of both these courts is in The Hague, Netherlands, right? The most important point or the most important difference between ICC and ICJ is ICC prosecutes individuals, which means it blames individuals and not countries. ICJ, it prosecutes states and not individuals, which means when it comes to blaming an individual for committing a crime or for issuing arrest warrant, then ICC issues it. ICJ does not issue arrest warrant against a person, it issues arrest warrant or it prosecutes a country and not individuals. This is the difference between ICC and ICJ. When it comes to ICC, right, when it comes to, let's say, war crimes, genocide, crimes against humanity, these are the subjects under which ICC claims jurisdiction. With respect to ICJ, when it comes to sovereignty, right, border dispute, or let's say for example human rights, trade, these are the subjects under which ICJ claims jurisdiction or prosecutes a state. This is the most fundamental difference between ICC and ICJ. Very important point for your prelims. Let us discuss a question now. The ICC was established under Rome Statute. Yes. It prosecutes individuals for genocide, war crimes. Yes. US and Israel are founding members. No. 1 and 2. Very simple answer for this particular question. Right? Yeah. That's it from today's DNA session. Right? I hope you understood all the 4 topics. In case you have not understood any point, please, I request you to, raise your query in the comment section. We'll try our best to resolve your queries, right? Make sure that you are referring to a website wherein the DNA notes is available. This will help you to revise effectively, right? So make sure you are revising all the 4 topics or 5 topics that we discuss as part of daily news analysis, right? And make sure that you are maximizing from our daily news analysis. Make sure you revise, practice questions, attempt the questions on a website, and make sure that you have a holistic understanding, right, with respect to the topics that we're taking every day as part of daily news analysis, right? Thank you so much for watching. And before I wind up the session, I request you to please hit the like, subscribe, and share button. Thank you so much.